All right, hey everybody, TG here. We got back online with the Moxie Traders. So I was with you guys for, well, almost an hour this morning. And then now I'm on with you guys out there on the social medias. And let's see, today's Wednesday. So tomorrow, it's been a week, I tell you, I'm trying to get this thing ready, plus everything else I got going on in my life. We got the webinar. It's a free webinar. I'm going to show you guys the breakdown about how I turned my account from 46,000 to 719 using leveraged ETFs. Whether we do options on that or not, it's kind of your choice, but I want to show you guys something about that. And then also we've got some other things I'm going to be discussing, namely longer term plays, since this market is looking fantastic out there. I do think that the market is going to be good for the foreseeable future. Okay, of course there will be pullbacks and ebbs and flows and stuff like that, but all that, and then also how to pick some good stocks out there. So want to kind of run that through. I know for some of you who have seen the video about how I made the SOXL trade, you're thinking, okay, what's new? We're going to have some new stuff in here. Plus, it's just going to be current events, kind of what's going on, how the market's been handling, all this kind of stuff out there. And so this is going to be more than just a breakdown of how I made the trade. It's going to be a kind of a market update situation. Okay, so I'll talk about that in a little bit as well when we get back into things. As far as today goes, and thank you, Mirza, for letting me know that things are working on our end. As far as today goes, we had another little bit of continuation this morning, but the first thing I posted once we got going was that I thought that the market should actually probably take a little bit of a breather. Yeah, let's see, 651. I'll show you guys this out there on the social medias, just so you can see the time frame. So this was the post. 6:51 a.m. I'm on the West Coast, and so this was 20 minutes after the market opened, and I said, yeah, SPX pretty frothy here. I think we should expect some resting as price needs to digest the huge gap on the hourly. And so that's basically what we're seeing today. You can see here up on the hourly chart. Yesterday was incredible, with the resolution basically of the whole Iran-Israel situation, the ceasefire. Yeah, there was some turbulence. Apparently, the ceasefire was kind of fudged, I guess, on both sides for a while. Then Trump was interviewed out by his helicopter. He had said some famous words. That was pretty interesting. And the market just said, okay, whatever, there might be some missteps to begin with, but the general direction of where things are going is in a resolution type way. And so the market just kept going up all day yesterday. It was pretty darn impressive. I was thinking it was getting a little bit frothy. I figured at some point it was going to pull back. Yesterday did not pull back. We are starting to get ever so slightly of a pullback today. And that's kind of what we figured out today. Yeah, Andrew, right? I can't exactly repeat it here. So yeah, famous words, also with an F. But yeah, you can see that yesterday we were just, I mean, look at that, the huge move, really gapped up and ran. We started putting in this giant gap in through here. We're bumping up against some resistance. Pretty darn wild as far as that goes. And so we just needed to let the market chill out for a little bit like that. And then I'll show you this, because this is going to be a little bit of what we discuss tomorrow in the presentation that I have. I'm trying to look for the entry. We absolutely nailed the low on Monday. Pretty happy about this, to be honest. Look at this. Look at the time, 10:12 a.m. And again, I'm on the West Coast time. And this was on Monday, and the market's still kind of moving around a lot. We nailed this thing. If you guys want to go back and look at the price, we got it for 11.10. Like, I don't think it gets any better for that particular setup. And if we look back here, 11.10, right? Let's see, 11 or 10. What was it? 10? 10.10. There you go. 10.10. I was like, that doesn't look right. Yeah, look at that. Right on. That is where we got that trade. I mean, it's just fantastic. So I'm going to dive into this a little bit more tomorrow, as far as showing you guys some examples and showing the rest of you out there on the social medias, anybody else who's going to be tuning into this, kind of how we did it. So yeah, it's not going to just be about that trade we made back in, what was it, April into May. No, we got some good current stuff that has been coming up like that. Andrew, hey, sorry, I thought you said you didn't take mine, but you took your own. It's too bad you missed it. Oh, well. There always going to be more. Yeah, Joe, the whole Trump thing. Yes, was it yesterday? Yeah, that you could tell he was frustrated. I guess sometimes it's good to see passion or emotions actually from our politicians. So we'll just kind of say that. And this market really does continue to look very, very strong. As I said, of course, there were going to be some ebbs and flows, like kind of what we're getting today. Today is kind of an ebb. That's great. I think it'll help kind of set some stuff up. I am thinking we're most likely going to hit our previous all-time highs. Hang on, my wife is texting me for some reason. Let me see if it's hopefully not an emergency since she just left the door. All right. So yeah, I think we're going to come up and we're going to at least see previous highs. The question is, when are we going to get there, and what's going to happen once we do get there? Is it going to settle down a little bit? Like what's going to happen? Okay. Yeah. Hang on a second, guys.
I'm not walking in here. Nice try.
I know. Okay. You got it?
Oh, my back hurts. Yeah.
Okay. Funny times. Okay. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Let me get this open a little bit. So I'm in my office here, as you guys might figure, with computers and everything that's like that. And my wife she makes coffee every morning. She was gonna bring some coffee in this morning, but she doesn't know if I'm on the camera or not when I'm on the mic. And so she does not like to be on camera. She doesn't want to be walking. And of course, I guess that makes sense to be professional and all that. But this morning, she's like, "Yeah, I wanted to come by and drop off the cup of coffee, but I saw the lights. Like my lights behind me were on." She's like, not coming in." And so she knew this time I was on the camera again, and she had to grab her dad needed a bench or something from this room, and she's like calling me, telling me to turn off the camera because we got to get in there and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, kind of fun mornings like that. You got to change and adapt every once in a while. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any kind of questions, where you want to go with all this kind of stuff, because yeah, we've been just seeing some really, really fantastic things. One other thing, as far as they call it housekeeping, if you guys remember, since I'm also going to be talking a lot about leveraged ETFs in tomorrow's presentation and how these leveraged ETFs have been working very, very well for us. One in particular, FNGU. Emil, if you're still out there, your favorite name is now back to FNGU. And so if you look at FNGU, you can see not much history here because they just switched over yesterday. And this is kind of the unfortunate thing when they keep doing this. I hope that the data can be backdated on these things, but maybe not. And so I'm flying partially blind as far as trading this particular name because there's no history here. And so what we have to do is you can switch over to FNGS, and this gives you the history. Okay, so just understand that if you're trying to trade something like FNGU, which used to be FNGB, and I think it was FNGA at one point too, as they just kind of switch around everything behind the scenes, this is the way you can look at it and see what's happening, and then you just basically buy the FNGU instead of looking at that one. So in case anybody was wondering and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Andrew, that was my concern is as time went on, they're probably not going to be backdating it. So it's a little unfortunate. We'll have to start from scratch with the FNGU situation. So I'll be referring to FNGS more often as far as that goes. We look at FNGS, we execute on FNGU, that kind of thing. And it's the same deal with things like Reddit. Of course, Reddit has all of this history and you can see what it's doing. But if you wanted to buy the leveraged ETF of Reddit, which is RDTL, now you only have a little bit to work with, don't you? And so you can see that the proliferation of these single stock leveraged ETFs is really getting out there. I mean, so many stocks now, and I'm sure there are more coming by the day. In fact, I had a whole list, and then as I've been talking about this, you guys in the Moxie room kept telling me that there are other ones, like Lucid even has a leveraged ETF. ARM has one, and then I had another buddy reach out and tell me that there was another something. So it's pretty cool. I'll have to search every once in a while and see what the latest leveraged ETF for a name is out there and see if we can trade it. But we're doing Reddit, we're doing SoFi, we've got some good stuff like that. It's fun. Of course, we know MSTR has a leveraged ETF. They're fun. Now, I will say, you look at something like HIMS, this is the double-edged sword. So I was in the leveraged ETF of HIMS, which is HIMZ, and instead of 34% down, 68% down. So yeah, pretty rough on that one. I do want to see if it seems to have stabilized for now. And because, it's not an option, so you don't have to worry about it just going to zero. It is a pretty big dent. And obviously HIMS was doing pretty well before. The CEO of HIMS came out and basically said, hey, no big deal, nothing to look at. Of course, he's going to say that. But we'll see if this thing can find a low, stabilize, and then maybe come back up. And, I'm pretty much having to play damage control on this thing and salvage it. One idea, I know a lot of people keep talking about UNH. I'm not saying that HIMS is nearly as bad as UNH, but when you get something like this, something that used to be a good company and all that, maybe there's an opportunity. I know a lot of people have been talking about UNH. I'm still hesitant to even trade this one. But if you look at it, it does seem to have stabilized, kind of trying to make some higher lows. And if anybody is interested in this, I think I would have low expectations, but hey, can it get worse? Unlikely. I feel like this is pretty much as bad as it's going to get, and we just see if this can recover at some point. And I think that's kind of the idea of what I'm looking for HIMS. So I've kind of already accepted that loss, and now we're just trying to see if we can do anything a little bit better about that. But that is the HIMS situation is an example and a reminder of why you don't put your entire account in one name just in case. I know that I got really, really frisky when I did the whole SOXL trade, and I put 90% of my options account into that. But again, that was only my options account. I still have other accounts. I had plenty of money. So even if I blew that one up, I'm not going to have to go to the soup line. Let's see. I think there's one other thing I wanted to, Tesla. Yeah, let's discuss Tesla. It's kind of the elephant in the room for today. And we're in this in two different ways. I do have a shorter dated call debit spread for this. That is definitely underwater since this thing's been moving back. But we are also in TSLL as stock. I'm not too worried about that. We're basically actually kind of back down to break even. So no big deal on that. Overall, I think Tesla's bullish. I don't see anything wrong with this stock. I think it's getting a little bit pushed around because of the cyber taxi news and all that kind of stuff, which is a little unfortunate. I liked what was happening here leading up to everything, and I wasn't expecting that they were gonna that the stock was really just going to explode based on the cyber taxi stuff. I thought, okay, maybe it's going to be good or whatever. I just didn't think it was going to be an actual event where this thing they spiked it. Okay, maybe it's because it didn't run over anybody on the first day, so it got a little extended. I knew that. We were waiting for it to come back down. Right here, we did take a position. I said, okay, let's keep waiting for it to come back down. Pulling back this far is a little bit of a surprise, but I think hopefully what's happening is they're just kind of shaking out some weak hands. Basically, all the amateurs that bought Tesla 2 days ago on the news and on the big move, like, oh my gosh, Tesla's going, we got to get it. And hopefully then they just broke them right there. And hopefully that shook out some things, kind of created some liquidity. If we kind of ignore this whole thing, what I'm seeing is we're still bullish on the daily chart. And then we have this trend line, and you can see how it is perfectly holding that trend line. So fingers crossed, hopefully over the course of time, maybe this actually ends up being a good dip buy. I can't prove it yet. There's no confirmation, but I do want to see if that's something that's going to happen. So if anybody else is looking at Tesla and, either number one, like, haha, we knew that was going to happen, sell the hype, Andrew, then the rest of us hopefully can hang on to it and have this thing start to move back up. Yeah, Andrew and our for anybody out there on the social medias, Andrew was talking to me yesterday. He's like, I think this is a buy the hype, sell the news, and I was kind of like, well, I don't know. I think it's looking okay. I was wrong. He was right, but hopefully we're both right into the future. He was right about it coming down. Hopefully in the next few days this thing turns around, then I can be right. That is the magical thing about the market is actually multiple things can be right. It's just a matter of time. Okay. Yeah, 50-50 chance. Let's see. So Dominic, let's take a look at shop. Looking great. Yeah, a little choppy, but looking great. Let's take a look at the higher time frames. This generally, actually, thanks for bringing that up, Dominic. This is kind of exemplary of what I think I'm seeing in the market. If you guys, I'm going to show you in a second here, but I look at this chart and I see nothing but goodness. This excites me. And this is the kind of thing that I've been talking to the Moxie subscribers, the traders in here. And I even made a post on Monday. I said, look, guys, I've been looking around the market and I think I see that this market is still looking fantastic. I mean, number one, it's hard to ignore that the SPX went all the way down and came all the way back, and we're practically at all-time highs again. It's almost like it didn't happen. That whole tariff tantrum thing, I think, was the best thing that actually happened to the market recently. It completely reset the deck, and now market's kind of like, okay, we like everything that's happening. Plus, it handled everything that was happening in the Middle East, and I just don't think there's any stopping this market. Of course, there will be pullbacks and periods of time where things take a little bit of a moment, but I look at this, and this looks ripe for a move higher. And you look what's happening here on the monthly. Basically the narrative of what happened as 2024, and especially the end of 2024, was great. And you can see here that that's what that was. We had some really nice big moves going into the end of 2024, but then everything got ripped down because of the tariff tantrum, and the market was just freaking out. But the fact that now it recovered, what did that do? It reset the deck, because going into 2025 at the end of 2024, look, everything was up too high. It was very extended, and there were giant gaps here between price and moving averages. Now that I think about it, it's almost like, how when either tariffs or probably just tariffs, like companies know that tariffs are coming. So what do? Or inflation's coming. They buy everything now because it's just going to get more expensive later. It's kind of like maybe the market figured that out too. They're like, okay, Trump got elected. We like that for the economy reasons, pro-business, all that kind of stuff. But also he's about tariffs. So we better get everything in before those tariffs kick in. And that's kind of where it felt that this was just, everything was so frothy into the end of 2024 that the whole tariff tantrum thing completely reset the deck. And now you look at this, we're really, let me just right here, you kind of look, we're in this channel, and we are right again at the bottom of this channel, looking like we're ready to continue moving higher. Now, timing and when this is going to happen, all that kind of stuff, not entirely sure, but this looks like a nice little dip into support and looks to me like it wants to go higher. And this is on a monthly time frame. And look at the weekly. We have a nice weekly flag right in through here. And what if this thing starts to move higher? Looks absolutely fantastic to me. And so if we do that, and if we look at the shop, let's see, I've been making that presentation, so all my things are a little bit changed. Let me switch this over to hourly, and then let me get the more time. Switch this over 360. Okay. And yeah, as I said, it's been choppy because you can see it's basically run right into its previous high, but it's not falling apart, is it? It's correcting with time, and then eventually it looks like it wants to go higher. Now, is that higher today? Maybe. Is it next week? Maybe. But generally speaking, this looks like it wants to go higher. And I'm seeing that from a lot of tickers out there. So I am very excited about this market. TEM. Yeah, Rick. Hey, Rick. Good to see you over here on social medias. See you on X. Aren't you? Shouldn't you be over in the Simpler Central? I guess maybe this is the way that you can kind of hedge it, and you can come talk to me and see the Moxie stuff while still kind of staying in the I guess the Mastering the Trade Room. We've had to change that name again. Yeah, TEM, I know it's down. It was up, now it's down. I think the TEM is basically doing what Shopify is doing. I think it's going to go higher, but I think what it's doing is it's resting, because there is a big level. First off, I mean, let me just extend this line here. Look where it is. Look exactly where price can't get past right now. It's this. It's a big level. So give it some time. Don't be too concerned about it, I think. Let it do its, let us do a little wiggling around. Let's see. Yeah, you said it's tagged the daily 21 in way too many times the last 2 weeks. So I think it's going to break and head to the 50. It's possible. Anything's possible. And you can see here, I do have this lower trend line here, and it still has a little bit of room to the lower trend line. And yeah, there's still room to the daily 50. So it's going to do one of two things. And Rick, this is where I was saying, like, we can both be right. It depends on timing. You could be right that it's going to test the daily 50. But what if it does it with time instead of price? So let's just say, again, just for discussion's sake, let's just say TEM does not go down, but it basically goes sideways for a while. Or maybe it comes down a little bit and goes sideways. What is the 50 going to do? The 50 is going to keep working its way back up. And you can see that there is going to be a point at which they can meet. And so, instead of TEM going down to the 50, which you look at this, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a pretty big move down. It could. I'm perfectly capable of saying it could. Everything is still underneath the hourly 50 Mox indicator below zero. Sure. But also, I think we need to be prepared. What if it just kind of meanders like this and then does that? So that's the thing we don't know. That's what makes the market. We're not sure. I'm not going to be shorting TEM. And I think I'm going to make sure I adjust my position so that I can account for something like that, because I do not want to get out of this. Now, also to your point, if it were to come down to, say, the daily 50, what might that look like? I'm trying to see if there's a bit of a trend line like that, because I've been seeing a lot of these diagonal trend line breakouts. It seems a little aggressive. That's a long way to see price then come down to that trend line before going higher. That's pretty aggressive, but there is a trend line there. I hope it doesn't work. I hope that one doesn't go there. But big picture, you look at this, I think it's a matter of time right there as price settles in before it goes higher. Because look at the difference here. Huge volume, big move. Okay, but then we had the tariff tantrum. Once again, big volume, and I know it's not breaking out, but it's staying contained. And even if it needed to kind of settle in a little bit more before going higher, what's wrong with that? So I think make sure you've set up your situation. Hopefully your options, if you're doing that, aren't too short dated. Like 10 days from now or something. Give yourself time. We're not sure what it's going to need, but I like what I'm seeing, and I think if you can just hang on to it and ride out the noise, I think eventually we will be rewarded to the upside. So that is my stance on that one. Dominic, yeah, appreciate the kind words. All right, let's see, Walmart. Yeah, vibrations. So, that's what the market can do. It either comes down to meet support or it waits for support to come up to it. Yeah, let's see, Walmart. It kind of, there's the story. And in fact, those of you who were in the Moxie room this morning with me, if you're looking at Walmart, isn't this a lot of what we were talking about with AMPL and CURI and CART? They're all doing the same thing. Look at this. Nice little pullback. Initially, Walmart was kind of flagging in through here, and it looked like it wanted to go higher. It just wasn't quite ready. Maybe in the same sense that, what is it? TEM, not quite ready. And that's the thing we don't know. Is TEM, like Walmart, going to come down into the 50 and then move up? But see, Brick, this is kind of what I'm talking about, that whether TEM goes down to the 50 or sideways into the 50, look what happens once it did get into the 50. It's now back up. So I look at Walmart and I say, yeah, I think Walmart's going to go higher eventually, because what it did is it now did a really, really nice pullback into these moving averages. I think it's digesting all of this range, because that's clearly resistance. So let it digest it. And eventually, let's see if it goes higher. That's what I would like to see. But I don't think it's going to be today, obviously. You can see that the market ran up here. The market survived the whole Iran-Israel bunker buster attack over the weekend. And then, when the market didn't go down, then things ran. And you can look at Walmart, look at it running. But look at it also, number one, running right into resistance and getting too extended. So it's just too far. So this is the kind of ebb and flow that I'm talking about with the market and individual names. You just got to be okay letting these things kind of do their thing. And as long as they don't completely break support or fall apart, then having an up, having a down, and then having an up again is going to be okay. Yeah, Rick, you're tired of the $3 to $5 reversals for TM? Yeah, I don't know. It's chop. It's going sideways. I'm trying to think what other tickers have we. How about this? Rocket Lab, for example. Look at Rocket Lab. Let me clean this up here. But if you look at Rocket Lab, look at this. Great move, then pull back, great move again, then pull back, and now finally it's breaking out. So sometimes stocks need to just kind of figure some things out. And you can see that where did Rocket Lab do it? It was doing it right here at its previous all-time high. It came right up to it, and then there was a bit of a fight. And really, ultimately, price just had to go sideways. It just had to chill out for a little bit, and then it finally went higher. And Rick, or even anybody who's been asking, Jolie and Dominic, you can see, yeah, we had a little bit of a dip. Didn't quite get the 50. Didn't need to go that far, but it did need to take some time. And then now look at this, doing great. And we are up. What are we up? 41%. Great. Love it. Doing great. Happy, very, very happy with that. So I think that TEM is a name that I do not want to miss. I think it's going to go higher, and we just have to be kind of patient with it. So yeah, Jolie, as far as Walmart, I think Walmart's looking good too. Let it kind of pull back for the day and see where it goes from there. And let's see, some other fun ones. Robinhood continues to be great. The news, I believe, on this one that's really carrying it for this next little bit is that they were offering, I think it was either 1 or 2% crypto for if you brought your crypto over to them to go trade it and manage it, they would actually give you 1 or 2% back. And so that they're running a huge promotion. I think that their goal is to bring $500 million under asset to management under asset to bring over. So yeah, and I think they've been doing really, really well with that number, which is why the stock is up again, continues. I mean, obviously the market's up, and you can see that this was basically bull flagging, and now we broke out. We're in this name, we're in the leverage ETF, we're enjoying it. Gosh, we originally got into this name all the way back down here in that area, and now we're all the way up here. So we've kind of been trading in and out of it, but really, really enjoying this one. And talk about a Moxie price trigger. Look right here. That we got that yesterday, a brand new fresh Moxie price trigger to the upside. You just can't make this stuff up. It's looking great. Okay. All right. Well, since I have your attention, I see that we got a whole bunch of eyeballs out there on the social medias. If you guys haven't known, I wanted to let you know I'm going to be doing a webinar tomorrow. It's going to be free. So tomorrow, Thursday, it's going to be 7 p.m. Central. And not only am I going to be talking about how I turned my account from 46,000 into 719,000 in 30 days, I'm going to be talking about leveraged ETFs. Okay, that's kind of the big thing here. We've been seeing a proliferation of these leveraged ETFs. And whether you guys know about them or not, there are a lot of names that have these things. And I wanted to kind of go over how I've been using them, how we've been trading them in the Moxie room. I like them. They are a double-edged sword. Like you can look at with HIMS, we got run over with HIMS with 68% down because that thing went down. But then again, we're making, 100, 200% on some of these other names because they're leverage ETFs. So I like them. And then you can even trade options on some of them. So I'm going to show you guys stuff like that and what we're doing with it. And then, as I said, with Shopify and Walmart, I think this market is very strong. I think that the SPX is going to break out to new highs. People keep talking about 7,000 for the SPX. I think it's possible. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I certainly think it's possible. And so I want to talk to you guys also about longer term plays, where I think this market is going, how to pick good stock names and everything like that. So this is going to also be a little bit of a market update because this market has also handled, the Middle East news. It's just handled everything. I'm trying to think all the other things that have happened in through here. We got the tariff tantrum, we got the Middle East. I mean, we've got all sorts of stuff. And the Fed still doesn't cut rates. So just imagine whenever they do finally start cutting rates, I think the market's going to keep enjoying things. So yeah, come on over. It's free. It's going to be a market update situation as well. And we will talk about all the things that are important to us as traders. All right. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. I had no idea that was 30 minutes already. My goodness. Okay. Well, let's pretty much wrap it up there. We're having a great time, really enjoying this market. Tesla's the only thing that's given us a little bit of a headache today, but I think it's holding that trend line. So give it enough time. And I think that the market for now needs to kind of rest and digest from yesterday's massive move. Just fantastic. But this market is bullish. Robinhood is up, Palantir is up, SoFi is up. It's doing great. Okay. So try not to get too frustrated, Rick, by things like TEM. Find your spots, pick the lows, and I think just be patient. And then we'll keep rocking and rolling. Okay, guys? So we'll see you tomorrow night. Remember the webinar. It's at simplertrading.com. You can sign up for free, and we'll see you tomorrow.